Hey everyone, how's it going? Let's get started with this. My name is Adam Dizaki. I'll be presenting today on some Power BI do's and don'ts and how you can get started with our Power BI templates and dashboards and modify these to your own choosing. And I'm also joined by Sean Erickson, and we're with the product team. He'll be manning our Q&A. So also worth pointing out, Q&A is open. So throughout this entire thing, feel free to add questions. Maybe, I'll try to get to them throughout this, maybe all at the end. But Sean will be there manning Q&A.
Yeah, I'll monitor it. So if I think something is appropriate to bring up on the fly, we'll do that for sure.
Awesome.
Not to throw off your flow too much, Adam.
I mean, it's fine. I'm here for it. So as the name of this event might imply, we're going to be going over our tickets dashboarding integrations with Power BI. I will touch on Excel a little bit, but more than anything, what I want to focus on today is getting started with, again, our out-of-box dashboards and, more importantly, Power BI, and why we think it is just this super flexible and approachable tool. And if you've never used it before, or you're considering moving over into it, or you're even versed in it, the hope is that at the end of this, you're going to walk away just a little bit more knowledgeable and, more importantly, confident to be able to build and customize your own dashboards. Again, starting with the ones that we just provide out of the box. So to get things started, just like having to have Excel, actually, you know what? I just realized I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I do have a very, very small agenda on our PowerPoint slides here. Just like needing Excel to work with our Excel integration, you're going to need Power BI Desktop installed to work with our Power BI integration. And what's more, is worth highlighting here, is that Power BI Desktop is 100% free to download and use. You don't need any licenses. You don't need any rights. You can install it right now. It works. Now, that said, I will preface the following by saying I am not a Microsoft licensing expert, but when it comes time to actually publishing a dashboard, let's say Power BI Desktop into Power BI Online, that's where you actually might run into some licensing requirements. And that's going to depend on what your M365 subscription includes or doesn't include. But again, for today's purpose, demonstration, walkthrough, setup, and everything, Power BI Desktop. It's free. You could download it. We'll be able to get through this entirely without any hiccups. So where can you actually download Power BI Desktop? Because, I mean, if you don't have it, you're going to need to get it from somewhere. And I realize this is probably the most apt point to then immediately just jump into sharing my screen out so that we can all see it. So let me share my screen out. I'll take it on Sean or someone to either give me a thumbs up or tell me that they do.
Oh,
excellent.
Great. Perfect.
So getting Power BI Desktop. Well, first, you could go search for it, or you can actually head over to our help website, Tikit's help website, which is help.tikit.ai. And if you were to search for Power BI, you'll eventually find this. You'll see Power BI, and I have a link here called Power BI Integration. And when I click on that, the very first thing that you're going to see within the very first sentence is a link to download Power BI Desktop, right? We wanted to make this easy so you can just get started immediately. And then there's also some steps that we'll walk you through here around, like, go get an access token, download the respective template for your environment, whether you're on Service Desk or our ITSM plan. But I guess the very first thing that we actually have to do, and it's worth actually going through here, is actually getting that access token. So where do you get one? Well, again, this is in our knowledge base, so you could see how to actually get an access token. But if you actually just head over into the agent portal, and specifically into the settings and access tokens, this is where you can create and delete access tokens for Tikit. And that's what we need to do. We need to generate an access token in order to connect either Excel or our Power BI integration. And the reason I actually wanted to start here and hang out here on this page for a little bit is we get questions on this. What should I call my access token? What should the expiration date be? Why don't I just set the expiration date to, let's say, 15 years into the future? What roles should I choose? Like, how should I determine what these things are? So, can I answer all those questions? There's a couple things here. What should you call it? The name of your token should be purpose driven. It should be clear. It should be concise. It should be obvious what this token is used for, what this password to your environment is used for. You can see that I actually already have a couple in the background. I have one for my Power BI dashboards. I have another one that I actually created for this webinar. And again, I would encourage you to do the same. If you're going to be building a Power BI dashboard for yourself, name it accordingly. Maybe put your name in there, Power BI. If you're going to be exploring our other integrations like Excel or custom calls with Power Automate, give that an appropriate name. So I'm highlighting this because create all the tokens you want. You should be creating all the tokens that you need. They should be purpose built so that if one expires, you're only ever going to impact that one integration point. If you need to rotate keys, you're only going to impact that one integration point. So the next thing is, well, the expiration date. Why not just set it for several years into the future? After all, I don't want to have to remember this. I don't want to have to, always have to be changing this. Well, good security practice would dictate, much similar to passwords, it's probably good to rotate this maybe every 90 days. So an expiration date of about 90 days, good practice. Now, again, I can't force that on you, but I would highly encourage that 90 days is a good rotation period. And last but not least, what kind of application roles should we choose for our access token? Well, I won't get into this too much, but at a very high level, again, since we're creating a password to our environment, to your respective ticket environment, depending on the rules that you give it, that password has the ability to do more or less than obviously what you set here. So could I choose administrators? Sure, I could make an administrative token for my ticket environment to use in Power BI. Why shouldn't I choose administrative? Kind of casting the net a little too wide. After all, we're just looking to report and get data out of ticket. We don't actually need the ability to do anything and everything inside of our ticket environment. So scope, right, is the key here. So for the purposes of today, I'm going to go with agents. My agents have access to my tickets. That works. Again, you might have to scale this up or down, but just quick high level of what those are. So I create my access token. And so with our access token, once I generate this and click save, I would copy that to my clipboard because that's the option that it gives me. And when I open up that Power BI template for ITSM or our service desk plans, you're prompted for enter a ticket token and you paste that key in. And just to save approximately 34 seconds, because I timed it earlier this morning, I've already loaded up this dashboard. I don't have to wait around for 34 seconds. And once you load your dashboard, you're going to see something that looks a little bit like this. Now, this is our ITSM dashboard. And you'll notice that I have visuals filled out for all of my data points. Yours may not look like this. It's possible you could have some empty visuals. That's okay. And where could you have empty visuals? Well, if you're not using surveys, you should expect this to be empty. If you are not using ticket types or templates, you should expect those things to be empty. So again, it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not broken, it's just simply that data hasn't been populated yet. I don't know if Sean was going to add something there or not.
Oh, no, sorry.
All good.
You go on mute. I put something down. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, all good. So then kind of just a quick overview of like what's on these dashboards. Well, I mean, we've tried to label them to be succinct and clear what they are, right? So if you look along this top row, we have active tickets by category, by team, by group, channel, assignee. And in a similar fashion, the same exact thing beneath, but around the concept of resolution time. So what is the average result
Yeah,
time?
I'm going to jump in. There was a question by James. He was asking, is there an easy way to update the expired access token? I thought it was kind of appropriate since you're still in that swim lane with that.
Yes. So if you're in Power BI desktop,
So just to put context as well, so the token expires. Maybe
Yep.
tell them what happens, and then what they should expect, and then kind of like the next steps to solve that.
Yeah, so if the token expires, because again, if you're rotating every 90 days or so, right, it will expire. What's going to happen is that the dashboard is going to fail to refresh. You're going to eventually just get an error on that date, and it's going to say couldn't contact or authorize against the server, couldn't pull new data, which means it's time to generate a new token and update it accordingly. Now, where do you update that? Very shortly, I'm going to show you where you can update that in Power BI Desktop. And in Power BI Online, there is a way to update the token there as well. And if I have time, I'll get to Power BI Online and where you edit that. If I don't, it'd be great to follow up with you. I'll gladly show you. I'm sure there's a way I can communicate that after the fact here. Okay, so moving along. Like I said, I have these like average resolutions by the category, by the team, by the group, by the assignee. Again, similar just on top, but around resolution. And then I can have some other, miscellaneous but relevant data beneath, like my tickets created per month, the survey responses I have, the tickets by type. You can see my types are requests, changes, and incidents, right? Those are my high-level buckets of tickets. And I also have tickets by templates used. I could see what is actually being submitted at around templates that are coming in through, for example, Ticket Virtual Agent. And very similar to Excel, where Excel has worksheets, in Power BI we have pages, I can actually thumb through some other pages here, right? So here's my SLA dashboard, here's my lifecycle dashboard, approvals, tasks, right? I can keep going through these. But I guess what I actually want to highlight here, and I'm going to jump back to SLAs, is that on my SLA dashboard, you can see that I have SLAs by their title and also their respective status, right? I could see that I have a new tickets SLA that has some quantity that is, the SLA has been breached and another has been satisfied. And I also have down here a list of those tickets. And something Power BI does really well with little to no effort that we're going to get to actually setting up here in the coming moments. So I can actually just click on one of these parts in the bar chart and the rest of those visuals update. If I deselect that, I go back to all my tickets. But if I click again, just that one, show me the satisfied SLAs of my all level 3 tickets SLA. There they are, right? And it automatically filters. So this is all well and good, right? This is, again, it's the dashboard we provide out of the box, but I want to customize this. You probably want to customize this. You want to change what's on maybe this visual or another visual. You want to add to this. Well, to get started, just like Excel, similar to Excel, where I can create a new worksheet, I'm going to create a new page right down here. Just going to click on New Page. Here's my new page. And with just, my new page here on my template, I have a little bit more real estate I can easily explore and kind of highlight some of the sections of Power BI here. So I think first and foremost, the most obvious glaring section is my report canvas. These are where all my visuals go, where all my pie charts, bar charts, and everything else go that I want to visualize on a report. And over on the right, if I just keep moving over to the right, which we'll keep doing here, I have filters. Now there's a filter that we provide out of the box on our templates, and it's a filter that spans all the pages. So every page that exists and is created has this filter applied to it. And it's show me all the tickets created after 2020. Now, why did we do this? Well, why might you do this? Why might you want to change this? Well, maybe you want a Power BI dashboard that only is looking at the year 2020 or only 2021, 2022, 2023. Maybe you want a certain time range for all of your pages in the dashboard that you build because you want to be able to see like the year over year changes for all of your tickets. So we put that there as an example more than anything. And it may also have something to do with the fact that, well, that's when we release Ticket. But that aside, that's why that's there. So if I keep going over to the right, you also notice that I have visualizations. And in visualizations, as the name might imply, this is where I can actually define What do I want to put on the canvas? Do I want a bar chart, a stack bar chart, a pie chart, donut, table, right? I can pick and choose all of these just by simply clicking or dragging them over there. And last but not least, and arguably the most important, is data, right? My data section, my queries, my data sets. This contains all of the data from our and your respective ticket environments loaded up for you, ready to play with. And of course, we can actually expand these data sets, right? I could see like if I expand status, it's okay. There's the columns, the headers that exist in the status query. Same thing for groups. But the one that I'm actually most interested in, and the one that our dashboards are built around, is this tickets query. Tickets with an S, plural, all at the bottom. And if I expand this, you're going to see some probably familiar looking fields here. You can see that we have like, oh, there's agent URL. I can see the assignee's department. I can see the due date, the requester. There's also a host of requester details that are here, like the requester's country, department, office, state. Those come from Microsoft Entra. So, excuse me, if you've defined those fields in Entra, they're going to be available in Ticket, and you can also report and play with those. But again, these are just the headers, right? How do I actually see the data, the underlying data? I mean, I could drag stuff out here, but I'm actually going to use this as an opportunity to jump into the next part of this, which is Power Query. So if I right click on tickets, or to be honest, I already right click on any of these data points, but I'm going to right click on tickets, see that I have edit query. And if I choose edit query and I click and I open this up, this is going to bring up Power Query Editor. And this is where I can build new data sets, massage existing ones, and perform a whole host of other kind of like editing functionality. But while we're here, again, I want to reiterate something and point something out again. We are currently in Power Query, right? We started in Power BI, but we're now editing.
Sorry, Adam.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Jared asked a question. What's the difference between ticket, singular, and tickets in the view area?
This is great because that's exactly what I'm going to get to next.
I assumed you were laying that up, so I wanted to alley-oop to you.
Yeah, no, this is great. So we started in Power BI, and now we're in Power Query. And Power Query, the reason I want to highlight this small nuance is because Power Query is the backing technology for Power BI. It is also the backing technology for Power Apps in M365 Online. And it is also, this is probably the more important part, the backing technology for our Excel integration. And the reason I bring that up is because, well, this now brings up a rather interesting point. If Power Query is the thing that's binding all these things together, what should I pick, right? Should I use Excel, right? I like Excel. What if I want to use Excel? What if I like Power Query? What if I like Power BI? Which one should I pick to do the job that I want to report? And the answer to that question is, it depends. If you're familiar with Excel, use Excel. If you want to explore Power BI, and I in my own biased lens will say I think it's a superior dashboarding tool, use Power BI. But the takeaway here is there isn't a wrong answer because it's still Power Query behind the scenes. And that also means that wherever you start, whether you're starting in Excel or you're starting in Power BI, you decide to change your mind tomorrow, you can go to the other one with a very small learning curve difference because it's still Power Query behind the scenes.
I do want to add something complimentary to this, in that, yes, everything Adam is saying is true about the administration and setting this up. In terms of usability, depending on what the net output of the report you're building is, sometimes it's easier for a manager or a director to consume Excel over a Power BI experience. Yep. Because they want to have rows of data and be able to filter just like they do in Excel. So there is an interesting advantage depending on the context of the delivery. And I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah. Again, it depends. There's not a wrong answer here. It is your preference of and what that end goal is. Okay, so now with that little established, and also now to get to that very question of like, there's ticket and tickets, what's the difference? So I'm in Power Query. And if you're looking closely, you can see that we've provided some higher level structure folders around several of these queries. Now, these folders mean nothing in terms of reporting. It's purely organizational. And you can see that we have one called dashboard queries, and it has tickets, plural. We also have ticket properties, and it has things like ticket type, templates, categories, right? If I peruse through these, you can see here's my priorities, my sources. Here's ticket singular, which it does look pretty similar. And also, call back from a couple minutes ago, here's my ticket token. So if I want to go update this, or I want to go change this, or I want to use a different one, this is where I can go change this. It's inside of Power Query, right? It's not exposed on Power BI's front end there, but I can get to it inside of Power Query. So that's where I can change my token. Okay, so now what's the difference between tickets plural and ticket singular? Well, let's actually zoom in on a couple fields here in Power BI that are worth highlighting. So, like I said, dashboard queries. What all the dashboards in Power BI are built off of tickets plural. And there's a couple things here that I want to draw to your attention. First, there's a lot of steps over here, and we'll get to what these are and what these mean in a second. But over in the lower left-hand corner, if you look really closely, I have 68 columns and 592 rows, which is to say I have 592 tickets. And then again, columns, 68 of them. If I click on ticket, I have far less steps, but I have 47 columns and 592 rows. It's still the same number of tickets, but I have less data. And this is where the difference lies. If I were to look at, let's say, status, right? It's my statuses, it's my groups, it's my teams, it's my categories. My ticket, if I were to look at this and I were to start scrolling, and actually the very first column here, I have a column called requester ID. That's not the requester. I mean, it is, but it's not the requester I know. That's clearly related to somebody. There has to be a name associated with that requester. And if I keep scrolling over to the right, you're going to see that I have survey ID. Okay, I don't know if that's positive. I don't know if that's good or bad. I have the assignee ID. I don't know who 2 and 6 are. I don't know who team 9 is, who escalation ID 6 is, who category 3. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And if I were to look again by comparison at status, well, it's clear like that I have active, pending, resolved. But I also have this ID column. And if I were to look at priority, I have high, medium, low, but I also have this ID column. And if I look at sources, I have email, Teams, and Portal, and Power Automate, but I also have this ID column. So surely there has to be a way for me to merge, to join up all of these queries into a single query to get those plain text values. Because ticket, sure, the data is there. I could see the kind of tickets that are getting submitted, but I can't see the plain text versions. And this is where we have done the work for you with the tickets plural query located underneath dashboard queries of doing all of the merges and joins and all of that work for you. Because here's the requester's city, here's the requester's country, department, their actual requester, their office location, the state, the assignee's department. All of that has been done for you, and it has been done for you throughout every single one of these steps. And now the advantage of these steps is that you could, not probably won't, but based on what I'm about to show you, you could step back and actually see every single move that we have made to make this query possible. If I go all the way back up to source and I step through this at one at a time, notice I had users, and then I had users city. And I also had these other ones. And then I renamed all of them to requester, right? Every single step along the way you can see of how this query came to be. So that's the difference. Tickets, the work is done for you. Ticket is just like template, status, category. It's the raw, unmassaged data that exists out of Ticket. Out of
Hey Adam,
tickets, everything's done.
I might throw you off your flow here of asking this question, so
Okay, go for
don't kill me if I do. But
it.
I actually don't know this. In the out of the box Power BI template, the latest one, are all the requester properties available in the tickets view, or did you prune back some?
I pruned back some.
So this might be a good example of why you may want to look at the step because so Adam has certain out of the box properties that we think are good to have as a starting point for the requester. I don't know what you have out of the box, but probably department.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, city, country, department, the requester, their office, and the state.
but maybe you want to add another column that's available. This might be a good reason to go into that step.
Right.
And sorry, go ahead. I'm
No,
prompting you.
honestly, no, you're not throwing me off my flow at all
Okay,
because
great.
what if I wanted to change that? Like Sean brings up an amazingly just like awesome, excellent point here. What if you want to add to this? What if you want more requester properties? How do you do that when you're already here? When this is what we're providing? Well, you scroll all the way up to the top, the source, right? I expand users. I'm like, okay, I still may not know what this is. I rename columns. Oh, this must be the requester step. And this expanded users column, if I actually click this gear, I get to choose again forever what properties I want to bring back. I can add a couple, I can remove a couple, I could do whatever I want here. Now, keep in mind, if you remove anything and you have visuals that are dependent upon this, those visuals might be empty once you close and load. If you add to it, probably okay because it's an additive change. So
And there's some great visuals here too. You have employee ID, which you can add an entry. You can have family name, given name. Like there's just some good things that for some reason you may want to add.
yep,
So thanks, Adam, for that, for entertaining me there.
yeah, of course. So those are there. And again, all those steps are there. So this now brings me then to the next point. I want to build my own custom dashboard. I wouldn't mind building a dashboard of, let's say, I want to see all of the laptop requests, all of the hardware requests that are being made, and I want to know the kinds of laptops or kinds of devices people are picking when they fill out the form in Ticket Virtual Agent. Um, I want to build that dashboard. And to build that dashboard, I really need to prepare my data first. So there's a couple ways I could go about this. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. This will vary depending on how you're currently using Ticket, what fields you're currently using to reliably key off of hardware requests or whatever the nature of the dashboard you're trying to build in your case might be. So for me, I guess I could do something like I could do it by ticket type. That's kind of vague because my ticket types are incident and request and change. So that's too high level. I may be able to do it by support team, but some of them are empty. Oh, I could do it by template. So much like Excel, right? If I click on this little header for template, I can actually filter out what I want returned in this data set. And well, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I want to show only my new hardware requests. Okay, perfect. That's them. I'm gonna close and apply. When I do that, give Power BI a second here, it's gonna refresh all of the other queries that are dependent on tickets, the tickets query, the tickets with an S plural query. So it's going to do this refresh and it's going to load my data back up into Power BI. Because again, we were in Power Query and now we're loading that into the visual side of Power BI. Okay, so I loaded that, but oh, I broke all the dashboards. I mean, it's a strong word. I didn't break them, but they're certainly less accurate because since I updated the tickets dashboard data source, the tickets plural data source to say only show me the hardware requests, it kind of makes sense that none of these load, right? Or that they're less accurate, right? I mean, if I look at tickets by template used, you'll remember not too long ago, this was a full donut chart that had all sorts of different templates. Now it's only new hardware requests. Um, and I also have two incidents about it. And I mean, okay, this is kind of interesting, but I need to undo this. And I can do that by going right back into Power Query. So I'm going to right click on tickets. I'm going to go into edit query. I'm going to get back into Power Query Editor. And I really want to be able to undo what I've just done. I'm just going to select the current step I'm on, which is filtered rows, hit X, and it never happened. Now, I bring this up because this isn't just a one-time undo. It's not just a 5-time undo. It is unlimited undo. Every single change you make to the backing data set is a recorded step. So it doesn't matter where you go wrong or go right, you have a way out of it. You could back your way up, you could delete steps. All of this is possible. Now, that's great, but still want to make the dashboard. Like, I clearly can't use this because I'm gonna shift the rest of my dashboards. So what's something I could do? Well, I have two options. I have a couple options. One, I guess I could just right click on this and say duplicate. And it'll do exactly what it says. It's a duplicate of tickets. And I could rename this to hardware requests. All right. And then I'll just do the same step again of like, let me go over to template, new hardware. Great, that's it. And if I were to close and load this back into Power BI, all of my dashboards will be fine because I have a wholly new query dedicated to just hardware requests. And again, none of my visuals are dependent on this. So I can work in isolation here. What's another way I could do this though? Because I mean, that's great. I could see all the steps, but maybe I don't want to. Maybe all the work is already done on tickets. I it's going to get confused. It might get confusing depending on if I'm filtering and I'm doing all these other stuff to distinguish between the steps and the steps that you take and the steps that we have taken. So I'm going to do this just again one more time, but I'm going to start because I'm going to delete hardware requests. Yep, that's gone. I'm going to right click on dashboard queries. I'm going to go to new query and I'm going to say blank query. Well, now I'm here. What do I do next? I mean, I have like the Excel formula bar. You know what? Let's just do equals. Can I do ticket? Yep, I can. So the very first step I take in my blank query is to say, go get the data from tickets, right? And in this regard, I've now created a dependent query. I now have a query that is wholly dependent on the other one having data. It also means not only do I get to keep all of the work that was already done, I have none of the steps associated with it. Because again, they're all in the other query. And if I were to go over here and let's say I want to go change the template again. All right, I'm going to, again, doing the same exact thing. I'm going to filter just for hardware request. I only now have 2 steps in this query. And I probably should rename this, which I can do here, or I can just right click on this and say hardware requests. All right, great. And I'm going to hit close and load. And now 2 things are going to happen. One, our dashboard should get kind of snapped back to the beginning of where we started. All the dashboards should load, the visuals should be fine. But you'll also notice I have now a dedicated hardware requests query. I'm going to get a new data set over here that is just my hardware requests that allow me to build new visuals with just those tickets. And again, if you're thinking about this, because it's a dependent query, every time this refreshes, every single time a ticket is created, if it's a hardware request, it will fall into that data set automatically. And yes, that's the word that I used. So my visuals are good. I'm going to go back to page 1. You'll see over here I have hardware request now. Great. Looks just like tickets. And I said I wanted to see like a visual of like all the hardware requests and the models that people are picking. So I need I need to know the person. So let's get that first. So I'm going to grab requester, and all I have to do is just click and drag this out to the canvas. Okay, so I know Adele, Diego, and Joni are submitting hardware requests. I need to know the ticket ID too. Okay, yep, ticket ID is right there. So let me just grab ID and drag it out. And again, I'm dragging it directly into this. And okay, that's not wrong, but it's not exactly what I want. I mean, because you could see something Power BI is already doing. I said I wanted the tickets. I want to know the individual ticket IDs. Power BI though is adding them all together. I mean, it's not wrong, right? Again, it's 10. I know I have 10 hardware requests, but that's not what I am trying to build. So over in visualizations here, right, as we still have this table selected, over in visualizations, you can see here's the columns, the two that we dragged onto our canvas. And I actually can also reorder these too, right? So if I had several columns, I could control the order of them. But what I want to do is hit this little drop down, this little arrow next to ID. And you'll notice I have several options now, and you'll see that Power BI just kind of assumes that I think you want to count these things. And again, it's making that assumption because the ticket ID is a number, right? So Power BI is just assuming on our behalf, I think you want to count these. But we don't for the purpose of this visual. Because yeah, I could sum, I could average. I'm just going to click on don't summarize. Perfect. So now there's all the ticket IDs and the requesters associated with them. All right, this is close. Because I still need to see the model that people are choosing. So let me go up and I'll just say,
You're teasing everyone, Adam. You're teasing everyone.
I know, I know the answer to this question is card answer JSON because that's how someone fills a card out. If you fill something out inside of Ticket Virtual Agent, card answer JSON has the answers to all of those questions, the ones that you created on that card. And you might be familiar with this from Power Automate. So actually, you know what? I'm just going to drag it out. All right, well,
Sorry, Adam, just the way you describe that, could you actually bring up the template and correlate that on the form area? So there's a 1-for-1 on what you just did. Sorry, I thought that was you off. I apologize. I don't know if everyone understood that particular, maybe they did, but just to make sure there's a correlation visually.
Let me go to templates.
And what I'm highlighting is I want you to see the form that's being submitted, where it's set, and then why you're seeing it this way, and why it's card answer JSON, just the correlation there. There you go.
So my hardware request, new hardware request, has two fields, the style of laptop and the reason that someone needs it, right? It's a drop down and it's a text field. And you can see that I actually have an ID for it. The ID for this field is reason. And the ID for this is laptop selection, right? So I gave it a friendly name of style on the form that someone sees, but behind the scenes, it's called laptop selection. So that is exactly what I'm expecting. I can't really do anything with this. Like I can't make a pie chart out of this because like there's formatting and all the like. Okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this, and no surprise there is. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go right back into hardware requests. I'm gonna right click on. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'm gonna remove card answer JSON because that's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna go into hardware requests, right click. I'm gonna click on edit query. I'm gonna go back into Power Query Editor. Here I am in hardware requests, right? My 10 hardware requests. So I know my visuals are kind of going in the right direction. And here's card answer JSON. Now, if you are coming from the land of Excel, you might already be thinking like, oh, I have to like parse and I have to like get the substrings and all like, there could be a lot of heavy lifting here. And if you've never seen this before, it's probably not entirely obvious what you can do here because what we need to do is really make these their own columns. Like If laptop selection was its own column, I could report on it. If reason was its own column, I could visualize that somehow. So how do I turn this into its own columns? And again, this would be true of any type of card answer JSON you're working with. Well, the answer is actually very simple. I'm going to right click on the column header for card answer JSON. I'm going to go to transform, and I'm going to click JSON. I'll hang out here for a second because I feel like this is probably worth hanging out here for a second on. I right clicked on card answer JSON. I went to transform. I'm going to click on JSON.
I didn't prompt this, but Jake asked this very specific question. How do I get the answers from a form? So this is Jake, your answer to your question.
So we've introduced a new step, and that step happened because that's the action I took. I said parse it as JSON, so Power BI records that action. But if I'm looking at this, it almost feels like I'm treading backwards. Like I've lost data now. Like what's the record thing? And if I click on one of these items, you'll notice that I actually see the individual like responses below. I need to make these their own. Oh, well, this is actually very straightforward. Whereas these are drop downs, notice how this icon has changed up here. And if I click on this icon, and let's just do load more just for the sake of argument. There's laptop and reason. I'm going to click OK. I now have dedicated fields for my card answer JSON. They're all there. Now, there's something else I want to highlight here before we go back into Power BI. Again, we've gone through these steps. We expanded card answer JSON. If I click on this little gear, and I say load more, right? Again, if I had other columns, this is where I could select or remove them from that step. But I kind of don't like that it's called card answer JSON. I mean, I get it. It's card answer JSON dot laptop selection dot reason. I'm going to redo this again. I'm going to delete that step. I'm going to go back to card answer JSON, right? I'm going to expand this. But what I want you to notice here and pay close attention to is that this is checked by default. Use the original column name as a prefix to what gets expanded. If I uncheck this and I click OK, now I just have a laptop selection and reason. Okay, that's friendly. And I can, of course, even in the before step, if I wanted to, rename these columns to be something else if I wanted. So this is what I want. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on close and apply. And when I do it this time, now notice only hardware requests is refreshing, right? That's the thing that I'm working with in isolation. I'm not dependent on those other queries because I'm working in that little bubble of my data set. And again, the first step is go make sure this data is accurate by loading tickets and then expand those columns, rename them accordingly, load this up into Power BI, still have hardware requests. But now I look over here, I scroll down, laptop selection, again from Power Query, is now available in this data set, in my custom hardware request data set. So if I just click and drag laptop selection out now, that's the answer. I now know exactly the kinds of laptops that people are requesting through my new hardware request. And I also know the ticket ID as well. But I'm still not done here because, yes, I've visualized this, but I wouldn't mind this in a pie chart. That'd be helpful. So with this selected, you'll notice that over in visualizations, we have table. That's the current visual. If I were to click on pie chart, oh yeah, that's right. This is, yeah. I mean, it's a pie chart. You don't see much yet, but it's a pie chart. And if you look really closely here, actually, let's go back to table. In table, here's my columns, right? And I said we could reorder these and sum them, do whatever we want. And when I go to pie chart, notice what's going to happen here on visuals. I now have a legend, values, and details. Well, my pie chart needs to have values, so let's drag this up here. Let's just experiment. Oh, okay. Closer, because this is now hardware requests by the requester. I want to see it by laptop selection instead. Well, again, given what we just went over and now know, if I just reorder these, that's exactly what I get. So now I have a breakdown of all the hardware requests by the type of model someone is choosing. And you can see that if I just click on it, like it dims the other one out, or if I certainly highlight it, it shows me that I have 7 here and I have 3 there. Again, the 10 total that I had in that data set. Okay, so this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Except, if you're looking at the legend though, I have 2 things in the legend. I have laptop selection, I have requester. I can't do anything with it. Like I'm still interested in that. I can't do anything with the requester yet. Because on this visual up here, in this top right hand side of this very first arrow, this down arrow, the arrow pointing down, click to turn on drill down. If I click this, nothing changes. But when I now click into one of those slices, I drill down and I get to see who requested that specific model laptop. I can drill back up, I can choose this one, and I get a different split. This is made possible, drill down is made possible by 2 things. 1, having multiple items in the legend, and 2, just checking that arrow off. That's all it takes, right? If I uncheck that, drill down's off. If I turn it on, drill down is back on. And another thing you'll also notice if you're looking very closely, notice my filters are shifting as I'm drilling through this, right? So again, Power BI is still going to be taking steps to show how it got to where it got to, even though you're the one driving it. So that's how we do that. That's there. I've been talking for almost 47 minutes. I feel like it's probably worth checking the Q&A for anything else.
There was another question that came up from Amber. I'll read it verbatim. When parsing out the JSON and you click load more and it shows limit 1000, how can you increase that limit?
When it shows limit 1000, oh, I have, I might have to call you after this. I'm curious how you have, do you have 1,000 fields?
That's the question I had. I should have asked it. Yeah, sorry, ask the question.
Okay, so you go to, hang on, let me go back. Right, so you're saying you have, or I guess what I should assume here is it sounds like you have 1,000 fields on the card answer JSON, or?
Well, so to be clear, each one of the fields you put on a form on a template is going to correlate to one of these fields, so and their inputs. So
yeah,
the question is, do you have 1,000 inputs on that form? That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And Amber, I'm watching the response to Q&A. So if you want to respond to that, we'll pick it up. We can also take it offline and sync with you directly.
Yeah, if it's a process that's like, just very org specific that you'd rather talk about offline, I'm more than willing to take that call. I'd be glad to do it.
There weren't any other questions though, Adam.
Oh wow, okay. All right. Well, let's see what else. So let's go back. Let's kind of take like what we've gone through here, and I'll do one last visual because it's a visual that we don't provide out of the box, but we do provide the data for out of the box. I wouldn't mind knowing all of the tickets that are coming in based on the department they come from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize hardware requests because again, that's just the 10 hardware requests. And I'm going to go over to tickets, which is all of the tickets with all of the data already massaged and ready to go for us. And I want to see the requester's department. And I want to see the ticket ID. And well, actually, I don't need to change anything here. I actually am interested in the sum of all of these things and it counting them. So let me just click on pie chart. That's the answer. That's all it took. Like it's so simple. I'll repeat this. I want to see a pie chart of all of the tickets based on the requester's department. So using my tickets query, I'm going to grab requester. I'm going to grab the ID. I'm going to click on pie chart and, well, that's almost, oh no, I said requester's department. All right, that's not hard. Let me just drag it up into here. Now it's the requester's department. And again, since I have requester department and the requester, I could turn on drill down and say, show me everything from HR. Show me everything from retail. Show me everything from legal. That's
I think
exactly
something you
what,
should highlight here, Adam,
yeah,
is go to the SLA one, which you started at the beginning, where you were clicking on things and it was shifting the grid.
yep.
Yeah, well, what I just want to correlate here also is that if you had a grid based upon the same view and
Yep.
you click on things, it will dynamically shift as well. Just so that you can see another added value there.
So, you know what? Great point. Let's rebuild that. Instead of using the tickets query, let's use the hardware requests query. Great point. I want to use the requesters department. I want to use the ticket ID. I want to make this a pie chart. I want to grab the requester because I want to drill down. I want to turn drill down on. And if I click into retail, notice the other pie chart now shifts accordingly. And vice versa, right? Both of these are now working in coordination with one another simply by using the same data set, right? So before I use tickets not connected, use hardware requests instantly connected. Okay, I got 8 minutes to go. That's all I got.
Can you show that table? Can you show that pie chart as a table?
This one?
Yeah. You get a
Yeah.
tickets list. Now click on the left. Yeah. Oh, that one will change it. There it goes. Yeah. I just want to show that it happens against grids as well. So if
Yeah.
you had also a ticket list that was based upon the same thing, you could see a list of those tickets and see a reference point to those tickets. So just a different visual that I think is pretty popular.
Yeah, super relevant, right? And the same thing also happens as I click on the table. Notice the pie chart adjusts based on what I'm selecting in the grid.
Okay, I don't see any other
Yeah.
questions as well.
Okay.
I do want to prompt one other thing though. So, Adam, Adam did an awesome job, by the way. Very thorough, step by step. There are walkthroughs on how to take this into Power BI Online, how to do this for Excel. I'm going to drop a post into the Q&A, which is part of our setup series, that if you did want to step by step on Excel, or if you did want to know how to publish things to Power BI Online, excuse me, you do have the ability. You do have the ability to do that. I don't know if I can create a new one, my new button. I'll figure it out. There also came another question from Jared. Maybe too complex for this fall, but can you show trending over time?
I don't know if we could do
You
it
have an example.
I was gonna say I don't know if we could do it in 6 minutes because it's gonna depend on what do you mean trending over time? Like what do you want to trend over time? So as an example, one of the dashboards that one of the visuals we provide is tickets created per month. And you can see that it is a stacked area chart. And the x-axis is the month of the created date and the count of the created date. But it depends on what you want to trend. And or certainly willing to follow up with you if you'd like.
Make a comment, Adam, for Jared as well as for Amber. We'll just send a follow-up to you directly. And if you want to continue that conversation, we'll just let us know.
Yeah.
We'll email you though.
And again, also this is recorded, right? So if you miss something and you want to see something again, you'll be able to watch this later. Everybody, thanks for showing up. Much appreciated. Have an awesome rest of your day. Let us know if you have questions. See everybody later.